this decade is going to be really interesting. And in some ways, I'm not looking forward to it. In other ways, I'm kind of am. See what unfolds, but we'll see. We'll see.
It's
I want
definitely
balkanization
new,
to happen.
just-
How long
what?
do you guys think there's like? Do you think there'll be like it'll be continuing like the kind of trend of like populism?
Populism?
No, I don't.
Depends on which
I like
country, though.
I like populist leaders.
Really? Why?
I do, cause they're cool.
Why? What does that mean?
They're cool.
Well, I like populism because, like, you know, the whole thing is that, you know, they're like, oh, we want to appeal to the needs of the people, and it's like not. How many leaders nowadays do that? Most of them just appeal to the, you know, like global leaders or, you know, globalism, right?
Who-
Like
who are the global
Biden
leaders?
fist bumping the those Saudi dudes, right? Like, you know, shit. I remember when there were a bunch of articles coming out on that. He's like, so Biden just fist bumped the Saudi dude that like cut up some reporter, and you know, it's like, yeah, that's exactly what he did because he wants oil.
What about Trump though? He was he was homies with all these even I didn't even notice, even Supreme Leader Kim, who's in this very cool. Trump.
Oh, yeah,
was
no, he was hanging out
best
with
friends
Kim,
with.
but Kim's different. He's a
Yeah.
bit of a meme, so
Oh really?
different. Yeah, Kim's more of a meme.
Okay. To me, like Kim, I don't know. He seems kind of on equal footing to the Saudi prince.
Yeah, but the difference
No.
is that the Saudis have oil. We need their oil.
Yeah,
I mean, no
killing
offense, Kim.
killing one journalist and comparing it to me. Come on.
Resources first, moral second. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I'm getting fucked up in this game. Fuck.
What were you guys talking about before?
Oh,
Trans
trans
rights.
rights, I guess. Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay.
Although I wasn't a very active participant, I was just listening.
Yeah.
Bored.
I mean, it says you're
Yeah,
a social democrat, so I assume that you probably disagree with us on most trans issues.
No, I just think it's. I don't know why people talk about it so much. It seems like a kind of non-issue that it's like.
I think it was
like
just
to have a
forced.
debate
I
over.
think it's just because I honestly think a lot of the like trans awareness shit was like artificially, put in there. It was like artificially made, if that makes any
Artificially
sense.
inflated.
Yeah,
It's
like
here's
I have a feeling like all these commercials came out, all this awareness shit. It wasn't a grassroots movement, dude. This was like corporate funded. You know what I mean?
I can feel like
It was
That's just
like
oh.
it just feels artificial, and that's why I don't like it.
to an extent,
demand, baby.
I would agree. To an extent, I would agree. Here's the
Yeah.
thing: identity politics is to an extent valid, but I think for the moment in America, it's being used as a smokescreen for the more important issues.
Yeah, I also
No,
feel like
I
there
just
was a
think people-
build up to it.
Sorry.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
No, go for
You
it.
can go.
All right. I just
yeah.
feel like people. This is like these issues are just talked about because people like to talk about them. People would much rather talk about like trans issues because it feels more interesting than like really boring stuff that actually matters. So it makes sense, right?
Kinda. I think it's a lot easier to relate emotions and feelings to yourself than, actual hardcore economic.
Because like the conversation at the end of the day,
analysis.
it's about gender, right? Like
Well, let me give
it's
some context.
it's
of why,
about like
Yeah, just in context of why we were talking about it, because he said he feels he's more
Mm.
left socially, but I don't think he is, and that's why we were talking about the trans issue. Because when we were talking about, he was very conservative socially, from what I can tell.
Wait, who?
But
Lyser.
I will say it from my perspective. It seems like there was a build up to it. It wasn't like sudden. Maybe that's. I'm pretty sure you don't mean that it was sudden, but there, from my perspective, there was a build up. Like it was like gay rights, LGBT. That was the starting point, which I kind of understood. I was like, that makes sense to a certain degree. Like you want the same privilege rights. You don't want to be discriminated. I got that. And then I think after that, it seemed like it was fizzling down because in 2010 decade, like everyone pretty much understood and knew. It's not like a new idea. Like it wasn't the 1970s where it's like, fuck gay people. Like people are pretty understanding in general.
Right. Right.
And I think by that point, you now have to like now that's fizzling out, and things are becoming the norm. Some people want to grasp onto a new cause, in a way.
I completely
And
agree
Call
with you.
me.
You're right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Call me absolutely.
it's culture wars, right? It's just that's what it is. People like
Yeah.
culture wars.
Call
Yeah,
me,
it's-
call me
There you go.
absolutely schizo. But
Uh-huh.
here's the thing: because the gay movement has been done, the shock of it's faded. People have more or less kind of like, oh yeah, it's a gay couple. It's like no fucking big deal anymore. They looked for something even more niche, and that's like the trans rights movement. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
it's not important or it's not valid, but I am saying that for the most part, at least in the West, it is used more as like a smokescreen for the actual
Yeah.
problems in the country, to be honest with you.
I will say this. So, like, I don't mean to bring in race, but the Black Lives Matter movement, for instance, like, black people, like, yeah, there is racial discrimination, but it's almost
Dude.
like it's not as bad in a way because, like, some people argue, like, it's starting to die out almost. Like, what are you going to grasp even more for? Because, like maybe if you were in the 1950s and said, hey, there's not as much representation of black people, okay, that makes sense, but now it's 2022, bro, I see so much representation.
I
One,
Well,
one of-
can I
just-
disagree with you for a sec? Sorry.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. Like, it's nowhere near. I think like a lot of people on the left will make it seem like no progress has been made, which is complete bullshit. But I think you can still make compelling arguments that there isn't enough representation within. I think this is the main thing it comes down to: the criminal justice system, particularly in the US, where you have the criminal justice system being composed of judges and all these things. And I think it is worrying when you look at the incarceration rates as well for black people as well. Just I don't know. I think there are questions to be asked.
Yeah, certainly. It's very hard to kind of go through this mud because one of my friends, he's black, and when Black Lives Matter was like at the height, he kind of laughed. If anything, he laughed pretty hard because there's some articles or there's some people saying black people are getting slaughtered in the streets left and right, and they're getting put in handcuffs and they're being put in prison in masses. And he was just laughing because he was like, bro, in the 27 years of my life, I've never ran into a cop that slammed me on the hood and was like, you're going to fucking prison for nothing. Like, he's like, I've never had a moment where I went around and I was expecting a cop to like just come out of their vehicle and just shoot me down like that. Like, I've never had that inherent fear.
Nah,
would
that
add-
guy
I
was
would
just
add-
being that guy was just being an Uncle Tom. Okay, don't listen to him. He's
I would-
probably
I would-
he's
I
probably
would-
middle
like,
class. He's probably a middle class black man.
I would honestly add the fact that the Black Lives Matter moved on so fast compared to every other idpol issue is because the Black Lives Matter issue is inherently economical. Like, you cannot ignore the fact that it is inherently economical with the redlining and the whole slavery issue. That's why the whole narrative got kind of pushed really hard because if the country really actually had to consider economical reparations or any sort of movement, then it'll be in actual trouble. Meanwhile, with the trans movement, what kind of economical movement will actually happen if that is like approved? And like, I'll ask you, like, with the
Even for the Black Lives Matter, what kind of reparations? I don't really understand that whole argument. Like,
So
The whole idea is that they're at an inherent disadvantage in society because of
yeah, I
slavery.
agree with that.
But
Which they
in
are.
my
It's
in
not
my
a
opinion,
reparation.
there's so many generations removed that it's not a valid argument anymore.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
Oh,
not.
it completely is. You can.
It's
Anyway, I'll look something up.
I'm a conservative, and I do think there is a disparity, obviously, because they had generations to accumulate capital and have that capital invest over itself, and compounding interest, yada yada yada. So that's a fact. But I guess what's more interesting is talking about the prescriptions. How do we fix this? And Biden is trying to give preferential loans to black people, and
I mean,
But
Just more Gibbs
I quickly
will
Not
just
sure. Not
just
sure about
solve.
the facts one.
Can I quickly just give some clarity there? So what I'm looking at is a Wikipedia page called "The Racial Pay Gap in the United States," and it says that as of 2020, black families have a median household income of just over $40,000, whereas white families have a median household income of more than $70,000. So
Right.
we've got to acknowledge
that's
that
fine.
it exists,
So-
right?
So
You can debate over how much it exists, but it exists.
This is
let me
more
just say
like
though,
this is more quality of outcome arguments again.
right. So
No,
let me
this
just
isn't.
say
We're just
this.
acknowledging what is happening. We can come to
Right,
solutions
right.
later, but like we've got to
I'm
acknowledge.
I'm not saying that there's like disparities. There can be, you know. The thing is that like how much of that disparity is actually racially motivated than other factors. Like one thing that people don't take account for is like, let's just say a French and a Russian immigrant. Like if a Russian or French immigrant comes to the United States and then you look at the statistics and there's disparities on how much they're getting paid, you know, there's a disparity in gap in pay. Can you really attribute it to racial motivation? Maybe it's other
No,
factors.
this isn't what we're saying. Me and Kim are basically trying to make the argument that they just by the fact of black people's history in the United States means that they've been disadvantaged from the get-go. That's why that's partly what explains this huge, you know,
Like-
I don't
Like,
think
I
they're
get
at a
that it's,
disadvantage anymore.
I get no. Here's the thing. I get that they're not in a racially motivated. Okay, you can make the argument that racism is more or less an outdated thing, sure, but you can't deny that it was a racially motivated thing before, and the past has a much stronger impact to the future than you would think. These
Right.
couples of decades would not make all of that disparity like disappear
Okay.
completely.
So Quill, I'm
Most-
a conservative. Let's say I acknowledge this. This is true. Okay.
Yeah.
How do you fix this? Because like, as far as I can tell, like if you want to do reparations, how do you determine who gets reparations? What if you're half black? What if you're a quarter black? What if you're black but you're from Africa and you just immigrated here? How would you
Right.
decide this?
For me,
I agree.
For me, I'm not gonna speak for everyone, but for me, like sweeping social policies, like actually like, so go to the projects, go to poverty, like go to like impoverished neighborhoods and try to create social programs that help outcomes in those neighborhoods. You know,
No,
But
you gotta
that's
destroy.
kinda-
You gotta destroy all the gangs first.
yeah, but like here's the thing. What causes crime? What is the premier cause
That
of
is an
crime?
excellent question.
There's no
Good
explanation.
question.
I
Poverty.
honestly think it's culture.
Poverty is what causes crime.
Nah,
There's
you just
no
can't put-
culture in the
no.
world
Wait,
that
okay.
encourages
You can
crime.
I
You
don't
can put-
believe that. I personally think it's culture.
You can tie some of it down to culture, all right. I'll agree with you. You know, yeah, maybe a
I
bit,
will not.
but
I will
you've got to
not.
acknowledge that. Where does that culture originate from? Well, it could originate from like having really low ambitions, or from feeling, not like alienated from, like police and stuff. You can argue that it's a
No.
cultural thing, but that
I
culture
have-
stems from a kind of economically disadvantaged position in society.
I
Yeah,
absolutely
then
don't agree.
it really makes the solution very hard though, because like someone from Kenya could immigrate to the United States and they don't have the culture here of as an American, and they work really hard, right? Versus like a native here that doesn't work as hard, and it's really hard to find a silver bullet, a solution for this, and that's the problem with reparation. Is like, one, what percentage of do we acknowledge your blackness or what ethnicity you are, to be able to get what you like, the reward or the reparations that you're trying to get, and two, how much do we pay, and wouldn't this kind of take a step backwards in like racial equality, right? Because if you pay this subset of group for reparations, and then it ends up being a ripple effect where other groups are being denied this, it doesn't look very well optically.
Yeah, and it's
Well,
zero
that
sum.
kind of reflects on just America's history in general, doesn't it?
But-
Like, I mean, the
but
Native
Tato,
Americans are not even
one-
spoken of in any of these discussions.
One thing
either.
I'll ask then is why is it then like I don't know? You said it's like a cultural thing, but I don't know. What about like the majority of crime committed in the U.S. is committed by white people? I don't know. What does that mean?
Well, just
There-
there's a lot more white people
you-
than black people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
I
a
know,
lot
but
more
he
white
says it's
people.
a cultural thing. I'm just interested if you're
you-
talking
you
about
can
like its
flip- you
specific
can then flip it.
ethnicity.
You can then flip it then and say, hey, statistically, 13% of the population, which are black, do 50% of the crimes. What is that? Why is a small portion
Yeah.
of an ethnicity is doing huge amount, right? So you can't really you can't go off of like, well, there's majority white people, they do a lot of crime. That's not fair. That's not honest.
Yeah, I know. I was just interested because I don't know. Potato was saying that the reason why people commit crime is like a cultural thing, and I was just interested. Well, the majority of people who do commit crime are white, so I'm just interested. What do you see as the similarities in these cultures then?
No,
Oh no, what kind of crime are they committing though? Are they committing bank fraud or what? What are they doing?
Right. You got to look at so many factors. That's why like there's arguments of like the women and male pay gap, because like what if the pay gap is not really there because of discrimination, but because women tend to choose certain job fields that are not as difficult while men do, right? There's some sort of culturalness in there or inherent social norms in there that motivates one group to the other.
So,
Yeah.
is it the case that black people have higher testosterone? Because it seems to be that testosterone and crime are very strongly linked. Because most crimes
They got those
I have-
they got those
that is-
African slave genetics. They got the BBC genetics, and they're just superior with their testosterone. Let's just get that out of the way.
I
There's a
don't see
video.
any evidence in science that says that black people have more testosterone.
You do
I have
well.
never seen anything.
I will say.
Yeah, no, I
I've
honestly
proven
think
that.
the black people BBC genetics thing is just a huge meme because I don't really think there's any evidence to support that other than
Yeah,
oh look at these
it's just-
jacked black NFL football players. Oh dude.
Yeah, they go
look
to
at-
the
look at all these-
gym.
oh,
They
look at all
work out.
these
See, they
all-black
got that
basketball teams.
dedication.
Obviously,
They got that dedication
obviously
to
they
work
got the
out. All right,
BBC.
So
they're on the
humans,
grind.
humans across the board are not blank slates, and there was a video that properly kind of delved into this, and it was by a black person too, where if you look at different ethnicities, they do have some certain genetic properties to them that are common amongst their ethnicities. You can't ignore that. No, like we're not all blank completely where everything is equal. So like, that doesn't make one ethnicity superior to the other. It's just, in my opinion, more of a diversity thing, and it does come into play.
That's true.
I know this idea of different races, which is questionable on its own, having different genetic properties. That sounds like bullshit. I don't know. I've never
I
seen
mean, because it's like you
evidence
can
showing
look
that.
at Chinese Olympic weightlifting teams, right? Where they're like these Chinese dudes. Like most people think that Asians are weaker than most other races.
Yeah, but you're talking about build,
But it's
and,
like-
and I don't know. This other guy seems to be talking about like this kind of more psychological disposition, which is I think complete bullshit.
Where it's like you look at a black dude on the street and you're like, oh man, that guy would kill me with his BBC or something
So-
like that sort of thing.
So the reason why I'm saying like you can't rule it out, like it's there, is because like if
Genetic.
genetic,
That's what science is about. We prove something wrong.
so that's why I'm saying like there are some common traits among certain ethnicity. It doesn't make them superior; it just makes them different. But you can
I
still
don't know
see
what
it.
evidence you have to say that though. You're saying like, oh, we've got to. It doesn't matter, but like, I don't know. You haven't got any evidence, mate.
Okay, well, Angus.
What do you mean?
Angus, just to falsify the point that poverty equals crime. Like the poorest people in America are Appalachians or hillbillies, and they have very low levels of crime. So like, how would you explain that?
Honestly, I would ask, how do you explain
Because they're
Italians?
farmers. They're farmers in their base. That's why.
I honestly kind of want to ask, so how do you guys explain the Italian mafia?
What do you mean?
Wait, can I
In what
respond
context?
to Ken? I don't actually know much about like I don't know that, but like I'm guessing that hillbillies they live in like more rural areas, whereas black people do tend to live in cities, and just cities in general have like
They're
rates of crime.
not. They're the city boys. Okay. They're
don't
the
know. I'd
city
have to look
folk,
into
they
it,
just
but it's
don't get
interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, if you're linking genetics to, like, crime, then how do you explain to me the Italian mafia?
Oh hell no! I am not linking genetics to crime. I'm not linking that. I'm just saying that, like, I think we're on a conversation that, I forgot. But my whole
They're
point
more
was
genetically predisposed to crime.
The
no.
word
I don't
being-
believe in that. I don't believe in that.
That's fucking funny.
But I do believe that there are some differences in ethnicities to a certain extent that are more common in traits. But that's neither here nor there. Ignore that point.
Yeah, I mean, we could just say it's all
Uh,
cultural. We can just say it's all cultural because, like, why do Jewish people succeed more than white people, or why do Asian people succeed more than white people? I don't think it's genetic. Is it?
Your Honor,
Yeah.
I was more genetically predisposed to commit this crime, so I believe I
Oh,
should get a
I don't-
life
I don't
sentence.
believe in
Okay,
genetic
something
being
interesting.
predisposed.
So we don't just call there aren't like African Americans in the UK. You've got like Black Caribbean and Black African, and really interesting. Black Africans tend to do so much better than Black Caribbeans. So it does give a lot of evidence that there is this is a lot of it is actually largely a culture thing.
Okay.
Like I said, I honestly believe
You-
it's cultural, dude.
Are you sure it's culture and not the geographical and economical conditions of that
No.
area?
The
No. I
I'm
agree
absolutely
with
sure
you.
about that.
I'm just saying the disparity between those two ethnicities is probably largely down to culture if they're both economically as fuck.
So this reminds me of like a Ben Shapiro video where he was arguing with this person, and he made a point. He was like, "Why is it that in the 50s and 60s, when racism was at an all-time high, single motherhood rates in the black community was lower than now? But now that racial discrimination has gone better over the years, we have more problems in the black community, such as like an all-time high in single motherhood. Like, why is that?
What does that mean? Bring back discrimination to ensure.
Bring
No,
back
so-
the 1950s
man.
culture.
So
Everybody will
he's
want a
basic-
husband again.
No, he's basically pointing out that, like, under all this pressure, under all this racial discrimination pressure that the black community was facing during that time, they still had this culture to keep together and have they had high marriage rates. But now it's different. So can you tie that culture? I guess. But that kind of reminds me of that Ben Shapiro video. I gotta find it.
Well, see
It
that.
might be
Honestly,
better if
I honestly blame social media, dude. Back then, people were limited to the
Right.
communities they lived in. But now that social media is so prevalent, I honestly think that things have taken a turn for the worse when it comes to like sticking up for your brother or your brotherhood, so to speak. You get what I'm saying? For your community.
Quill.
It's
Sorry,
like what
kinda-
community are you a part of?
Yeah, cool. I got an
Let's-
answer.
Wait, what-
I got a question for you, Quill.
You guys are going way too fast. What's going on?
Lester, I want to add one thing. So you said like back then they faced pressure to stick together, right?
Yeah.
What kind of pressure was that?
What the pressure to have like a
I see-
husband or
socioeconomic.
a nuclear family?
I
So,
see
here's
your
the
I
thing.
see your point. I see your point
Here's the thing.
because you're basically alluding to like you had this pressure, and because of this pressure, to survive, it was better to stick together and basically strengthen your group.
Yeah. Socioeconomic pressure shapes culture. Like, okay, it can be the other way around, but it's mostly material conditions that shape culture. Culture does not have that much influence to the point where it is the be-all, end-all of a cause.
Well, hold on. Why,
I think
how can you
I've
say that? How can you
behaved-
say that? Like, why isn't it the opposite? Like, for example, the Jewish community, they are very strong, like, community-wise. That could be a good explanation why they're so successful.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Why? Okay, I wonder why they're so strong. I wonder if it's because they're being chased out of every single country they've been in.
They
It's
just
not
figured
getting
out they figured out the banking meta, so like they're good.
Exactly.
No, but cool.
No,
that
They
goes
figured
to
out the
narrative.
banking meta.
Maybe Asian would be a good example because they're not being chased out of everywhere. But let's just say an Asian family coming to America that has a high work ethic and it's just based on their culture
What
and
Asian?
they're getting great results.
Yeah, but what
I don't-
Asian?
I mean, let's just say South Korea or Japan, because I'm pretty sure they're not under siege and they're not running away. So let's just use them as an example.
The Japanese would rarely even move out of Japan because the socioeconomic pressure is that high to stay in where they are. South Koreans, yeah, they move to America because America has really good ties with South Koreans.
Right, but we're not talking about why they move. That's neither here nor there. We're saying like when they move here, the culture that they brings, it propels them to do certain actions and behave in a certain way. We're not talking about like why they're moving to America or if they would move to America or why they wouldn't.
Yeah.
Like that's neither here nor there. Like so.
Well, I think,
But I
Cole-
think that's
yeah.
what
Yeah, Cole, I think you're
I
just
think that's
blinded by
what
your.
Tim is saying.
I don't get that argument.
Yeah, Cole, I think you're just blinded by your Marxism because you have to see everything through the materialistic lens. But
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
here's the
material
thing.
dialecticism isn't the end all be all. Like, I mean, surely
It isn't.
and and surely I would hope, right,
It
that
isn't.
people can see that both material conditions and culture play into the behaviors of people. Right?
It isn't.
It's not one or the other.
Yeah, it isn't. It isn't. That's the thing. But here's the thing. Material conditions influences the superstructure that maintains it. So, like culture. I'm not gonna go into too much of a technical detail on how it works, but basically the material conditions of where you are influences the culture, and the culture influences that material condition in turn. Right? The people who has the belief of like spreading cow shit to their fields would have their crops, grow better because it actually is scientifically actually.
Would you consider that as a major factor compared to all other factors?
Yes, but here's the thing: culture can be changed. It is human nature, whereas nature is a lot harder to actually change. Material conditions is a lot more difficult to manipulate through social superstructures than it is to manipulate
So you're saying like you're saying like other factors like culture is very minuscule compared to what you're referring to.
No, I think what he's saying
culture
is that
is dependent on the material conditions you are in. The reasons why a lot of Arabs wear the hijab, a lot of people would say that, oh yeah, it's Islam, and to an extent that is true, but also that historically it is actually really fucking hot there. You would actually need to wear that shit to not die of dehydration.
How is that an economic? Isn't that an environmental condition?
Yeah.
Material
That's
conditions. Material conditions.
let me give like an example. So like we can see that there is a lot of say violent culture in poorer communities, right?
Mhm.
And what is the cause of this? It's material conditions, right? Like we know that poverty breeds criminality, right? And this ends up getting embedded into the culture. Why does it breed criminality? Well, they don't have access to the same things others do, so they have to use extra legal means to do so. Is it a good thing? No, of course not. Should it be promoted? No, of course not. But
what
are the material conditions and do they explain like why this is the case? I think they do.
Can't culture exceed economic?
Right.
For instance, let's just say like the Aztec, they really like going out warring and getting bodies so they can sacrifice them, or what if the culture is more
right.
like, I guess, yeah,
Yeah, because
Kim gets it.
Yeah, because
I've-
this is always the nature versus nurture argument, and it seems like you guys are all in on the nature aspect because you want to blame everything on the environment, but like most things are really difficult to explain. I don't think you can just say it's the environment, it's the material
I am-
conditions.
No, wait,
I'm not-
hold on. You say you guys, but like I'll clarify again, dude. I don't think it's one over the other.
Okay.
I
No.
think.
Well, I think
And,
sure.
and,
I'm
and
not-
just
I'm
for
not even-
clarification when I say nature, like because especially this type of conversation can get dicey. This like in no way relates to like the genetic makeup of a person. This is like external like environmental fact. Like, have you ever read the book Gun, Steel, and Germs? Or have you ever heard of it?
Yeah, of course.
It's an interesting book that looks into like why certain cultures succeeded more than others, and it seems to be that there is a large correlation into the resources they had available to them.
Right. Like I think most, I hate using this word, but most reasonable people say that it's both. It's obviously nature and nurture. Now the thing is, you said, like we know that poverty leads to criminality. Well, why couldn't it be the other way around? The thing is, like, I don't think.
Criminality leads to poverty.
Yeah, of course. Like if
Yeah,
I mean-
so basically, like bad choices,
Why-
you're making bad decisions and you're causing destruction. So you're gonna basically cause another group of people or another individual to be against you. So then you're gonna face consequences.
Yeah.
Eventually, that's gonna make you poor, desolate,
Yeah.
because nobody wants to be around you because you're an asshole and you do criminal things. So your criminality has caused you to be poor instead of you being poor has caused you to be a
Yeah,
criminal.
like in San
Well-
Francisco, for example, like 15 Walgreens closed because there's so much crime, there's so much vandalism. That's
Yeah.
jobs lost. That's going to lead to poverty.
Yeah, right. So this is cyclical, right? Like if you commit crime, especially like if it's a felony, like you're going to be barred from a lot of jobs. This will cause you to be poor, right? But there are a lot of people who are born into poverty, who haven't committed a crime, who then while still being poor commit a crime, right? Like we're talking about like first offenders here, right? Like people with like no priors, no criminal history. They are more likely to commit crime if they are poor, right? Like this bears out overwhelmingly in the data, right? So it's not like the other way around, though that can be the case, right? But the poverty itself seems to be the mother of this cause, not crime.
I think there was a interview with this gentleman named Thomas Sowell. I forgot, but he made a point where he was in Harlem, and he said something along the lines of like, everyone was poor in Harlem, but where in my generation, in my era, when I was young, there wasn't any criminal element. Like we can sit in this park and just chill out. Well, now when he told this story, when he was telling his students or someone saying like, hey, I used to be able to sleep on a park bench in Harlem, he was like, that's crazy, you would get robbed. And he was like, not in my days. Like we were poor, but we weren't like worried about other people doing felony activities against us, like harming us. So
Yeah.
Well, wait,
You
hold
know-
on,
you know,
hold on,
that's-
hold on.
you know, that's-
Wait. This
Hold on.
anecdote has nothing.
I kind of
do I need to source
I kind of want to go in with that. That is the problem with anecdotes. That is the problem with anecdotes. When you're looking at like a systemic problem, you can't just point to one specific person's experience and
Oh,
say
absolutely.
that is
Absolutely.
that is generic.
I'm not making the point that based on this anecdote you should believe it. I'm just saying like, hey, there is someone that has experienced this and this is what their recollection is. So I'm not saying it is the end all be all. I completely understand what you're saying.
Well, Quill, I would just say
here,
like
we
just
get
just
data
as
on
much
this.
as you can't lean on a single person's anecdote, like you can't lean on,
Right.
on just all the economic conditions, which is really what I'm pushing. It's like I'm a postmodernist when it comes to like these one totalitarian explanations for why things are. Like you seem to be all in on it's just material conditions.
Okay, then why can't you?
Well, because it's a blend of nature and nurture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess he's saying like it's more of a blend, and we can say the inverse, right? So because we can say the inverse, it would be wrong to lean heavily on one or the other.
Yeah.
Now, it is definitely a blend. The superstructure affects the material conditions that produce it. That is definitely a thing. But then we kind of have to go in the specifics here. And we're talking about the black community. And here's the thing. The black community is not in itself a vacuum. It is, in a larger whole, part of American society. Right? And the thing is, the thing that caused them poverty in the first place was American society. And you can argue it doesn't do it anymore, but their economic conditions is still fucked from that, and it's not been repaired at all. It has not been. Nothing has been done to actually repair that at all.
They have equal. They have
Yeah,
equal
nothing.
opportunity to access jobs. They have equal opportunity for education, except if they're in a shitty area.
Affirmative
Yeah,
action.
They don't even have
Which-
equal opportunity.
you
They
said
have affirmative
they're in a shitty
action, which
area.
gives them a leg up, even though if they score lower on the test, right, to enter, like they still get a leg up.
Yeah, so
Right.
like here's the issue, right? Like especially in America when we look at the education system, right? Like if you grow up in a poor community, you're automatically less likely to go on to further your education. And the reason for this is because how our primary education is funded. Like it's funded based on like local property taxes, right? So poorer areas have worse school districts, and the quality of education goes down with funding. This is borne out in the data, right? Like I
No, I,
like
I'm
you're already
skeptical.
setting them up for a circle, a continued cycle of poverty.
Which states you're talking about? Because a lot of states have redistribution between areas just to fix this problem specifically.
Wait, which so like I'm speaking like overall, like as a national average, there's like a $13 billion differential in say like affluent and poor communities. Like that's just like on a national average, like not state specific.
But I would say like it almost sounds like you're saying a good majority of black people are in really bad neighborhoods. But I don't think that's the case.
Wait, hold on.
Have you not
I
seen
never-
Compton?
Wait, genuine question. When did I mention
what it-
race?
I'm not sure, but I'm just saying this is what it sounds like to. This is what it sounds like to me. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I don't mind being wrong, but I'm just saying this is what it sounds like to me. This is what it sounds like you're implying.
Well, here's the
Kind
thing, right? They've done like there was an exam. I think it was Berkeley. Like black people, their parents made over $100,000 or whatever. So this was a decade ago. So it's obviously more due to inflation, but they score worse than like one of the poorest white people, like in the lowest income brackets. So I don't think it's just money. They still score pretty bad.
Wait, what do you think it
I
is?
have no idea what that
Wait.
even.
I don't know. It's various things. Can't really point to one specific thing, to be honest.
I mean,
I think
think it's-
a lot of it, not all of it, but a big thing is like the study culture of a difference, right? Like I would say Asians, white people, every really group has their different in like education, their disciplines and stuff. Their parents push them towards.
It makes sense.
I don't necessarily think it's
actions.
just like parents pushing people towards education. I mean, certainly that's part of it.
It's not. No, I'm saying it's a factor. It's not like the entire thing.
Yeah. So again, right? I said low income areas, and I didn't draw any like correlation to race. So like for example, I'm currently attending a 4-year university. I have 1 semester left until I get my degree in computer science. However, I grew up in a very poor community, right? It was right, and I don't really think race played much of a factor, right? Like because there were many people of various races. However, we all got an equally shitty education, right? Like
Oh,
the,
so the topic
teachers
started.
didn't give a
So the
Right.
topic started with like Black Lives Matter, and then it kind of went to this direction.
I wasn't there for that.
Yeah, we were kind of like correlating with like race and poverty. That's why I brought up what I brought up. So I'm sorry for any misunderstandings.
Oh, sorry.
But that's what we were on though.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think
Okay.
it's just poverty. To be honest, I think we can't just blame everything on poverty. I think obviously it's a huge factor, probably the main factor, but it's not everything.
It is
I
a
think people like
large.
to exaggerate.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
is a large factor. Regardless.
maybe we disagree. Like, what factors have like what effect on these things, right? But I at least like that we can agree that it's not just this fucking binary, right? So
Yeah,
Yeah.
for real.
Yeah, I guess like circling back, my friend was laughing at it because him as a black person, he was just like, he doesn't feel that harsh of a discrimination as what's being purported. And I do see that when I was viewing the Black Lives movements, like when I saw it as it was progressing, there were some moments where I felt like they were kind of exaggerating, and I was just like, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Like
So-
they're grasping for straws.
Well, out of curiosity,
Like, at some
did,
moments.
did you see the 13-year-old? Like this happened 6 days ago, I believe. You could look it up. A 13-year-old in Chicago.
Is it with the water
shot-
gun thing?
No, it wasn't a water gun.
Was it that?
he
Was it that black girl that was trying to stab another girl, and then the cop shot her?
No.
that one.
Please,
I saw
please,
an
please,
incident.
Please allow me. So,
Sorry.
I'm not allowed to link it, right? Because it is like
Just DM it.
not safe for life, right? But here I'll link it immediately after the story. I'm not at my computer at the moment, but essentially this African American guy, he was running away from the police, right? And there were 3 officers. They had their guns drawn on him. This was picked up by like gas station CCTV footage as well as like police body cams, and they told him, turn around with your hands up, right? So he turned around with his hands up, and then he was shot and paralyzed, and he was unarmed.
Okay,
Was he
I'll
able to
look into
sue them
it.
back and get all that money?
This just happened like 6 days ago. Let me get it.
Oh, this just happened. Oh shoot.
This just
I
happened.
mean, hey, if anything, he'll never have to work another day in his life. You know what I mean?
He's
If he went
fucking
to court.
paralyzed, dude.
In
Oh,
America,
I mean, yeah, like he'll be paralyzed, which is that's the trade-off though.
Nah, if that was in America, that's debatable. He will still have to work even then.
I don't know, like are government
Millions of
benefits
dollars
are like
entitlements?
that bad?
Yes.
Don't they give like millions when some person is wrongfully shot? Usually.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
And these
that
people
well,
make
I
money
think
in
that
the media.
depends. That depends on the state that it happened in. I think.
I mean, these people
Depends on
can
the
cash
state.
in so hard on like the media or just giving interviews.
Yeah.
Selling books,
Yeah. You
Yeah,
would
that-
have to hire, you would hire a lawyer, and you probably sue the police station or the state,
yeah.
and that
As
and then
long
he
as you have
probably
a good lawyer in America, you can get a lot done. Easy.
Yeah, and and he should have a easy time, because like what lawyer would see this and be like, you know what, this is like an easy win. Let me represent this guy, and I think he would have some advantage in trying to find a good lawyer.
All right, I found the video. If anyone wants the link.
Yeah, can you send it to me?
Oh, hi guys. How are you guys doing? What
Yeah,
are we
what's
talking about?
Hi, sisters.
Doing all right.
Talking about
Yeah, but
black
yeah,
people.
just when you watch the video, dude, it's actually wild. Cause like there was that like one case, I think maybe a year or two back. I forget his name, but it was a similar
Yeah.
situation. He turned around with his hands up, and he was like immediately shot, and there was like one singular frame with his hands up. But here, it's like there's a good amount of time with his like like that meme, hands up, don't shoot, where they like have their hands up and like the stereotype like hands up, don't shoot. He literally assumed the hands up, don't shoot position and proceeded to get shot.
I need to see that video. Can you link it to me?
Did the one guy say you found it, that the 13-year-old dude?
Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah.
So to catch you up on what we're talking about, we're basically talking like we went from transgender, like gay people, getting their rights and maybe grasping at straws at this point, and then it moved to Black Lives Matter, possibly comparable, and then now we're talking about someone being shot.
Yeah, first we were targeting like transgender and gay people, and now we're targeting blacks. So it's about time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
about
let's-
time we
let's
moved
do
on.
Jews are next.
to
Jews
black.
are next.
Yeah, Jews are.
I'm extremely. I feel.
Right.
Look,
So
I feel
look,
really
I'm
marginalized.
just gonna let you guys know. Those don't joke about that in this server. All right.
Who wants the video?
No, sorry. We were talking about in the context of like political views, just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how
What?
Yeah. Just
How-
don't joke about that in this server.
So like,
We can move
so
on.
like, so like,
About the
it,
Jews,
say
or-
that you don't hate black people socially, but you hate black people politically, right?
no, it was more
Depends on
like
who you're. Depends on who you're talking to in this conversation, because
yeah, no, we
No,
were
we've
talking
had
more
serious
like
conversations. Yeah, we've had serious. It was good conversations. There was nothing racist.
Yeah. These are yeah. No. Yeah. Just
it was on the top. It was on the topic of just like comparing, I guess.
Okay, so yeah, I want to see the video. Where's the video at?
Okay.
This cannot be posted in the server, but it
Yeah,
can be
DM me.
DM'd.
Oh, actually, DM me as
can't-
well. Let's see.
Oh, is it? Oh, is the video uncensored, like just raw?
Yeah, I mean, well, dude gets shot. You know.
It's raw body cam footage, or
Oh, I don't know which the one I saw was like raw, just you know. So
that's what I want is the raw, the raw deal. You know, I want it.
So it's a 13-year-old like black. It's like
Obtained
Yeah.
exclusively by CNN.
Is he black? Is he black though? Question mark. Is he black? All right,
Yeah.
let's see. Let's see the video. Is he black though? He's got to be black. All right, let's see the officer body
he
cam.
doesn't have to
He is
be black.
He's he has to.
Drop the gun.
There's no
Drop
other
the
option.
gun. And they're running.
Continue
Where's the
reading.
video?
Oh, here it is. I think I found it.
Got shot. So hold up.
You just gotta scroll. You just gotta scroll down the article.
That was a little bit too fast though. When I just watched the video.
How it ended with the Chicago police officer.
All right, so
shooting
here we
a
go.
13-year-old
Let's. I'm gonna watch it, and I'll give you my
vehicle,
opinion.
And who lawyers and
So
some
the guy's
Lucky feel
running
alone.
and gets
had
shot.
his hands.
All right,
He
so
should-
he's
he
running.
should-
All right, so 3 officers are in pursuit. Drop the gun.
Decision.
Oh, I guess they
He thought
shot
the
him. I need
cell
more
phone
angles.
was a gun.
Fuck.
Jesus
Oh.
Christ, dude.
Low-key feel lonely that I'm assumedly the only non-American here.
That was the reaction of the officer.
Yeah, I
next
mean,
to
dude,
the shooting
unarmed,
officer.
turned
He
around.
has. He's running away, but then he starts putting his hands up and he starts like jumping and shit. I'm assuming that's when they started shooting him. He like
Says in a
starts jumping up
split-second
and shit.
decision, he
Yeah,
thought
that's when he
the
starts
cell
shooting him.
phone Was a gun.
Jesus Christ, dude.
They were the
Damn.
I can't find the video.
Well, yeah, that's just tough. That's just tough.
Because they shot pretty quickly. They shot pretty quickly in the moment that he was jumping and turning.
Yeah, that's what they're trained to do. That's the problem.
Okay, see, it says
Uh,
here, one of the officers say, cell phone, it's a fucking cell phone. What is that? He thought it was a gun?
So, I
As
mean,
long as he has an object in his hands, there one of them's gonna be like, "Ooh, it's a gun," and then just fire.
when you view the
You
video,
have like
it's-
7 officers involved in that altercation as well, so it's like as soon as one dude shoots, it's the whole fucking squad.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, dude. Like Ahmed Arbery. Almost forgot his name. He that was like another case of like this fucking. I think he was like 14 or some shit. He did have a gun.
Ahmed
However,
Arbery.
he threw the gun, right? And he was unarmed at the moment he was shot. So like he was running from the cop. He reached like a dead end in the alley, and the cop said, "Turn around with your hands up." So then he turned around with his hands up, and then he got shot.
I think you're
Like-
confused.
Well, so I think you're confusing.
Yeah,
I think you're
it's not
confusing a
Aubrey.
case.
Yeah.
Ahmed Arbery was in South Georgia. It wasn't by a cop. It was by like some
Oh
random
wait,
business
no,
guy
I'm
in
sorry. I'm
South
sorry.
Georgia.
Wrong name. I apologize.
Well, yeah, it just sucks because with the cops, it's basically like Simon Says, but even if you they'll still break the rules even then.
Yeah,
It's like playing Simon Says, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, by the way, the rules are reversed now.
yeah, you get shot for doing what they say. Oh, like, dude, have you?
Yeah.
There's like this one brutal footage. Now, like, here's the thing. Like, okay, statistically, unarmed black people get like unjustifiably shot like way more, right? But it's not like just. It doesn't like just like there are white people that this does happen to, right? But so like, did you hear about that? Like one dude who was like spraying for bugs in a hotel. And someone thought the bug spraying device he was using was a gun, so like the SWAT team got called. They order him like on the ground, crawl to me, stop, put your hands behind your back, I'll fall on my face, and then like he falls, and then they like all shoot him.
I know
Yeah,
what
I mean,
you're
it's
talking
like I don't wonder. Like, did he have a bug spraying uniform on and shit? Like, obviously he had to have been dressed like a worker, right?
Oh, so I actually don't recall.
Gotta
But
love
like,
the
they
fact
didn't-
that
It's like, I
even-
don't understand why cops don't look at that shit and they're like, this guy's wearing a bug spray uniform. Maybe
it was
something's
a
up.
console of a fucking bug spraying device, But yeah, no, I mean it was just dumb. Like he had like no gun. Like at any point he was just spraying for bugs. The police officer that who shot first, He had like he'd inscribed into his gun like ready to kill. Like they were all giving him like conflicting orders and shit. Like it was like it was dead ass in execution. He,
Were
Yeah,
they,
no, I
were they
remember. I remember
ever-
the video of the homeless dude on the park bench where like a SWAT team gunned him down. Do you guys know all about that, right? That one video.
Just kind of curious. Were they ever punished?
Oh yeah. So the cop is no longer a cop. However, he now enjoys getting his like without being a cop. He gets the salary of being a cop without ever having to work again a day in his life.
Oh shit.
Cops are okay. So listen, citizens in the United States are all second-class citizens compared to cops. Okay. If you're a cop or a federal like government worker, you're a first-class citizen. All right.
Why do you
Just
say
letting
that?
you know right now.
Well, I guess
Because
another thing
that's how mafia works. What do you mean?
So Eliza,
Because they have
another
the
thing
right
is,
to kill you without doing anything.
like these incidents, like they're ugly, but there's a lot of narrative being built around them. So like, for example, 2019, there was like 13 unarmed black men killed, but like people on the left act like this is happening every single day, and a lot like those 13 killed, I think the vast majority of them were completely justified. And if you look at the videos on police activity, you'd agree that that person had to get shot because they were violent or like escaping or something.
Even if they're violent or escaping arrest, if that person doesn't have a gun on them, I don't think it's proper to shoot them.
Okay, so if somebody's running up to you and is going to attempt to disarm you, then it's like, what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to pistol whip him or some shit or what?
I'm genuinely curious. So like, here, let me just post. Like, yes, it's the Washington Post. Sue me.
Oh no, not the Washington Post, please no.
Yeah. Sue me. They use FBI statistics. If you go down the like there are like 1,000 people like have been shot and killed by police like this year, like already in like 2022. I refuse to believe in the entire year of
The claim is
2019.
unarmed black men, and they have to be unjustified shootings. Like the vast majority of shootings are justified.
Oh, like specifically 13 unarmed black men. Like, do you have a source on that?
Yeah, here it's from USA Today.
Afterwards.
Oh yeah, that was an article, wasn't it, that brought that up? It was like it was kind of infamous from what I heard.
Yeah, it's because like people on the left make it seem like this is an epidemic that's happening all the time, but it's not.
Yeah, it's definitely not. Yeah, it's like okay, genuinely though, like people will see like all 13 of the videos, and then they'll be like, there must be a billion more. You know, like there not right? It's but here's the thing, like
Or they would have reported
it. The data does seem to indicate, right, that like you know if you're an unarmed white person versus like an unarmed black person, right, you are more likely to get shot, right? Like that is.
Also, I'd like to say something. Whether it is happening every day, every second, every hour, once a year, once a month, it doesn't matter because these rates are happening disproportionately, and that's not worth. I don't think this is worth going down the rabbit hole because I think it's very non sequitur because we do have data disproportionately to Black people, and that even though it's not happening every day, it is highly important that we highlight that it's happening disproportionately to minorities and ethnic groups amongst Americans.
Oh my god, I hate everything that you just said. Okay.
The number does matter. Like, if it's
I
like,
actually hate that.
dude, chill. Let me fucking talk.
Oh.
If like if there are like a million unarmed shootings of unarmed black men, and there were like 700,000, I don't know, like shootings of like unarmed like white people every year. I think that would matter because like if it's 13 shootings of unarmed black men, then like there'd be like a lot. Then there'd be like less of a reason to worry about being shot by the police.
Mela, I said that. Oh, sorry.
What?
Mela, I said that if it's happening disproportionately, it shouldn't matter at what rate it's going on, as long as it's happening disproportionately.
Oh yeah, of course
to a certain race.
It doesn't necessarily make it like a productive thing to discuss or necessarily prioritize remediating.
The disproportionate thing does matter. I agree, but like I do feel like there's like people on the left treat it like people are just like unarmed black men getting shot every day. And it's not really true. It's not like that common of a thing. And you can address the issue. I'm fine with like addressing like systemic inequality. The only problem I have typically is that like people treat like it's a bigger issue than it actually is. That's all.
Yeah, well, here's the like. I think it's more of like an overarching narrative. It's not just like this one thing. Boom, it's done. I think the issue is like overall the legal system tends to be built in with some type of like systematic racism, right? Like African Americans who commit the same crime, even taking into account priors as like their Caucasian counterparts. Like if you're African American, you're more likely to go to jail and more likely to go for a longer time, right?
Can they afford a better lawyer or no?
Yeah, I'm really curious. What factors are controlled for there? Like, what is the conclusion you draw as to the source of why that happens? Racism?
Yeah. So do they take into account prior offenses?
Yeah. Yes, they do take into account.
Do they take into account what lawyers they are provided?
I don't know. Let me check.
So I'm just curious. What is your proposed cause for that? Since you brought it up.
Well, it seems to be the case that, well, since it's disproportionately affecting like a particular minority, right? It may have something to do with like their minorities. Like
okay, so have you considered what other factors have you considered?
Well, let's look at what factors they control for.
What are we talking about?
Okay, let me pull this up.
Well,
I don't even know
I'm just
anymore.
curious. Like, have you considered any other possibilities? Like economic status?
What the thing are we debating?
So
hold on, Rod. Just listen.
Okay.
It's really quick.
Just
We're
let us
discussing
bring us together.
disproportionate arrests and killings of African American people.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
So, how does the conversation change during an absence?
I heard a good explanation for why the sentencing disparities for African Americans might exist.
What is your explanation on that?
No, this wasn't mine. But I've heard it from a number of prosecutors. And I did work in the justice system a bit. And one of the explanations they said was that African Americans, when they went to court, just in their experience, tended to be less deferential to the judge and would sometimes tell them off. And that tended to, when they had like major like felony cases, tended to, they said, disproportionately to judges maybe ruling, giving them harsher sentences.
Was there like any like data to support that?
What?
Yeah, that sounds kind of racist.
That's what I said. That was a theory I was told.
It's like a weird anecdote going, this color of people
That's
are
true.
impolite.
If you were a judge and Shamonique came to your court and Tiffany came to your court, are you going to give them the equal sentence? Why are you laughing, bro?
That's just fucking funny.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I didn't.
Why are they laughing?
I didn't.
Isn't it the case that black...
Exactly, Jordan. This is what we have to deal with, especially you, because you're queer. The judge is probably going to give you even double.
Isn't it the case that black judges are harsher on black people than white judges?
We got to look at that.
On that.
I mean, I said this was not like a study. This was just what people told me when they worked in the, as a public defender or as a prosecutor, what they noticed.
Anecdotal evidence.
We had this discussion yesterday about I don't think it was specifically about recidivism, but I think it was about like African Americans or something, and like the police stops or something or the other. And Quinny, they, them was like talking about it. I'm like, well, do you have a study? Like, do they control for like wealth, like rich black people, or are they still? He's like, well, actually, controlling for these things isn't very good either. And I'm like, so you can just make shit up. Like, we get it. Black people are more impoverished than almost any other race. So like, obviously, there's going to be some disparities there. And you can just chalk that all up as racism instead of economic issues. Like, why can't we actually look in the studies and see what is responsible for what?
Sure.
Is there some causal link?
So,
They don't want to prove a causal link. They just want to go more racism.
I was just throwing out a theory.
I'm sorry, Jordy. Like, you sound like you're underwater. Like your mic keeps cutting in and out.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I think that it's very important for us to look at the control groups, right, and analyze their economic, socio backgrounds, because.
Thank you.
Someone's Obama phone is going in and out.
I mean, look, there's an interesting study that looked at like how likely people are to even be like charged with a crime. I'm sorry, Jordy, you're cutting out.
She's got the banana phone.
Yeah, so African Americans, like according to the study, like they are 1.7 times more likely to even just be charged like for a crime with a mandatory minimum, right? Like that, yes, this controls for priors.
So I'm looking at the
and
study.
lawyers aren't involved. Like,
I mean, that wouldn't be a sentencing disparity, though. That'd be a charging disparity, I think you'd be looking at, right? Interesting.
I'm looking at
Yeah, you're looking at how much you're being charged with a crime, but what about like actual sentencing though?
And there's not.
yeah.
That's
So,
correct.
so the last link is being charged. The actual sentencing is found. I posted a source by the USCC, the United States Sentencing Commission. Like African Americans are more likely to receive like longer and harsher sentences for the same crime, even taking into account priors, right?
Well, yes, but you don't take into account much else. Is the issue with that?
What is this?
What else
Is this
could be?
is this nationwide or is this limited to a few states that are
This
causing
is-
this statistic to be overblown?
This is not. I mean, this is a
Like, what if it
national-
happens in a state or like a city where there's a lot of blacks that live there, like 90%? There's a few. I know there's a
Wait,
few
this is-
places in the U.S. that are like that.
Wait, hold on.
Like
I think they're,
Detroit. I'm
not-
saying like really shit. I'm just saying like shitholes. Could that like influence the numbers?
320,000 cases over the U.S.
Hold
Yeah,
on,
over the
you
US.
do realize this is like per capita, right? You know, like these are like statisticians whose like job it is to unbias the data, right?
Okay, so it's per capita. That's just what I
What
wanted to know. I'm not
statisticians are
trying.
doing
I'm not
this.
trying to like be like, no, you're actually wrong because the study sucks. That's not what I'm saying.
Also,
I just
just
wanna make
because
sure it's
a
all cleared up.
statistician collects and analyzes data doesn't mean they're necessarily drawing a particular conclusion. A lot of time they're just guessing why the numbers are what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and once again, like this is like the United States Sentencing Commission, not like MSNBC here.
So do you have
Doesn't
like a
matter.
foil to the proposition that it's because of like economic disparity or being unable to or not having a good lawyer, as opposed to racism? Or
Yeah,
I mean, money is king. If you have money, it doesn't matter what race you are. You're gonna be successful.
that's
Well,
why
it seems to be the case that you're already more likely.
Statistics, I'm reading your source, and from what I've seen from FBI statistics, it seems like there's Hispanic privilege because white people on average get shot more than black people with the police encounters, right?
Wait, then say that again.
Hispanics are the real one that are getting away with it. There's Hispanic privilege. Hispanic men aren't getting shot by police at the same rates.
I honestly think it's just because the Hispanics have more traditional family structures. I might be wrong on that.
That's true. They want to go home to their abuela, whereas
I don't think having traditional family
Exactly.
affects how often you wait, I'm sorry. I don't think having traditional family structures affects how like often you get shot by the police or affects.
Oh, I mean,
it
no,
does.
unironically,
It's your
listen,
sentencing.
there is a strong correlation to like single family households and crime. Like,
No, I know that. I know that.
so like,
I
how much more? Of
I
a
understand
stretch?
that. I believe. Yeah, I know that already. Yeah, fatherlessness leads to crime in most cases. I agree.
So
What?
Mr. Liddy,
Single
do you
family
have,
houses lead to crime.
like,
What?
any
Yes.
Single
that we
family-
have established that isn't really
That's correct.
Wait, single parent. Wait, not single family. Single parent households.
Yeah,
That's what I
okay.
meant.
Like I said, it all comes back to culture. I'm still holding on to that.
I mean,
And I'm still holding on to the fact that material conditions affect the culture as well.
yeah. I mean, chicken and egg discussion, bros.
I mean, in this case, the egg's pretty clear. The world was there before humanity was there, so material conditions existed before culture.
Lamau, dude. Okay.
Well, geography leads to culture. It's not just material conditions. Geography.
Geography is
Geography
material
is material conditions.
Yeah.
What the fuck, dude?